5.8, chapter 5.8. We are again building off of the factoring trinomials. And these are trinomials with a coefficient of, or your a value is going to be 1. So all of these will have an a value, ax squared plus bx plus c. First of all your constants are going to be negative, and all of your a values are going to be 1. So we have a 1 there. We're still going to go through the same process. Is it in standard form? Is there a common factor? Is it a special case? Is it a difference of squares? Is it a binomial square? And if not, which all of these will not be, we are going to do a times c, where a is 1, c is -3. We find factors of 3, which are 1 and 3. Now, we know that the signs this time, negative, means that the signs are different, because that's the only way you can get a negative. Remember, this is a product of two numbers. The only way you get a product when multiplying, a product that is negative when multiplying, is when one is positive, one is negative. So remember, this is a product, hence we saw that one was positive, one was negative. Now, we're going to look here, and this time this tells us that the bigger is negative. The bigger of the two factors, we have 1 and 3, the bigger one is 3, so that's going to get that sign. Because remember, this is our outside and inside. When we combine our outside and inside, we have an excess of negative. So the only way, our outside and inside are going to be opposite signs. So the only way you can get a negative middle term is if whichever one, your outside and inside, your bigger of the two has to be negative. So we do this, this becomes -2. Does this equal my middle? Yes, it does indeed. So these are going to be my two outside and inside middle terms. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to bring down the a squared. I'm going to convert my middle two terms to these two factor pairs, plus a minus 3a, and then I'm going to bring down my -3. So same thing as 5.7. Only difference now are the signs are going to be changed. Now we're going to factor by grouping. We'll take the first two and the second two. Factor by grouping. Factor by grouping. We're going to look for a common factor, which was a plus 1. We're going to look for a common factor. Our first term is negative, so we must factor out a -3. And we get a plus 1. We know we did it correctly because these have to be the same. A plus 1. If we factor those out, we're left with a minus 3. And we notice that the signs of the binomials are different, and the bigger is negative. But that's not always going to be the case when a is more than 1. So don't feel like that's going to be. Let this factor pair determine. And we can check that by multiplying it out. A squared minus 3a plus a minus 3 gives us a squared minus 2a minus 3, which is our starting problem. So it says check by multiplying the factors. Always check. It's easy. So is it in standard form? Yes. Common factor? No. Special case? No. A times c. A is 1, c is -6. -6, factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Signs are different. Not because these signs are different, but because this is a product. The only way we can get a negative product is if the signs are different. And then we look here, and the bigger of the two factor pairs are going to be positive. So here's my first factor pair. So the bigger is going to be positive, and the signs have to be different, so the other one has to be negative. The bigger of these two factor pairs has to be positive. Since the signs are different, the 2 needs to be negative. That gives me 5. This gives me 1. And we notice that my Middle is 1, so I know that I'm going to use these two factor pairs as my outside and inside. You get x squared minus 2x plus 3x minus 6. Factor out an x, you get x minus 2. Factor out a 3, you get x minus 2. X minus 2, x plus 3, and we're good to go. Standard form, common factor, special case. Ooh, hold on. So, could it be a binomial square? 3 terms, yes. 3 terms. First and third are perfect squares. Yes. Y squared is a perfect square. 4 is a perfect square. Third term positive. Oh, no. Third term is negative, -4. So we know it's not a binomial square. So we move on to 4, which is a times c. 1 and -4 is -4. Factors of 4 are 1 and 4, 2 and 2. Signs are going to be different. Bigger is positive, negative. Well, these are the same, so it doesn't matter. You get 3, you get 0. And think about it. -1 times +4 is -4. -2 times +2 is -4. Remember, these numbers multiplied have to equal this. Added and subtracted have to equal this. Multiplied equal this. Added and subtracted equal this. So we're looking for factors that are multiplied and added. And we get, ooh, is it -3? +3, yeah. So my pairing is going to be -1 and +4. So we get y squared minus y plus 4y minus 4. Factor out of y, we get y minus 1. Factor out of 4, we get y minus 1. Y minus 1, y plus 4. Standard form, common factor, special case, a times c. 1, -10, -10, 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Signs are different. Negative means signs are different. And we look here, and the bigger is going to be negative. So negative, negative, positive, positive. We get -9, -3. This is my middle term. So I'm going to use these as my factor, or as my outside and inside. Plus 2b plus 5 minus 5b minus 10. Factor out of b, b plus 2. Factor out of -5. We get b plus 2, b plus 2, b minus 5. Standard form, common factor, special case, a times c, 1, -8, 1 and 8, 2 and 4. Signs are different. Bigger is negative. That's -7, that's -2. Neither, no middle, none equal to the middle. So this is considered prime. Standard form, yes. Common factor, no. Special case, no. A times c, 1 times -28. 1 and 28. 2 and 14, 3, no, 4 and 7. Signs are different. Bigger is positive. Notice if I do my factor pairs in this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 14, 18, this is decreasing, this is always increasing. So my bigger numbers are always going to be on the right, my smaller are always going to be on the left. So when I see this, that the signs are different and the bigger is positive, I know that all my positives are going to go in the right column, all my negatives will go in on the left column. So just some things to consider. I just always know that I can roll down all those positives. We get 27, we get 12, we get 3, and my middle is 12, so I'm going to use negative 2 and 14. Minus 2r plus 14r minus 28. I'm going to factor out an r minus 2. I'm going to factor out a 14, r minus 2, r minus 2, r plus 14. Standard form, yes. Common factor, no. Special case, no. A times C, 1 and negative 18. 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Signs are different. Bigger is negative, so the left side is going to be positives. Negative 17, negative 7, negative 3. Negative 7 is my middle. Positive 2 and negative 9. Positive 2, negative 9. Factor out an x. Factor out a negative 9. X plus 2, x minus 9. I don't know why I rushed those 9s. That's good. Standard form. Common factor. Special case. A times C. 1 and negative 21. 1 and 21, 3 and 7. Signs are different. Bigger is positive. That gives me 4. So y squared minus 3y plus 7y minus 21. Let's factor out a y. You get y minus 3. Let's factor out a 7. You get y minus 3. Y minus 3. Y plus 7. We're going to roll through these. Standard form. Common factor. Special case. A times C, 1 times negative 14, 1 and 14, 2 and 7. Signs are different. Bigger is positive. 13, 5. I'm going to use negative 2 and 7. Negative 2, 7. Factor out an A, you get A minus 2. Factor out a 7, you get A minus 2. A minus 2. A plus 7. The other video was an hour long. Oh. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C. Let's try to make it under an hour. It was actually exactly 1 hour. It's kind of crazy. Negative 40. Factors are 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, 5 and 8. Signs are different. Bigger is negative. That means the smallers have to be opposite the sign and positive. So negative 39, negative 18, negative 6, negative 3. 4 and negative 10, 4 and negative 10. We're going to factor out a k. We get k plus 4. We're going to factor out a negative 10. And get k plus 4. K plus 4, k minus 10. Don't forget to check before you hand in your assessment. Standard form, yes. Common factor, no. Special case, no. A times C, let's try it. 1 and negative 27. 1 and 27, 3 and 9. Signs are different. Bigger is positive. 6. Z squared minus 3z plus 9z minus 27. Factor out a z. Z minus 3. Factor out a 9. Z minus 3. Z minus 3. Z plus 9. Better 9 that time. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C. 1 times negative 35 is negative 35. 1 and 35, 5 and 7. Signs are different. Bigger is negative. There's my -2. R squared plus 5r minus 7r minus 35. Factor out an r. Factor out a -7. R plus 5, r minus 7. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Signs are different. That's going to give me my -4. So p squared plus 2p minus 6p minus 12. Factor out a p, p plus 2. Factor out a 6, p plus 2. P plus 2, p minus 6. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C, 1 times -40, 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, hello Mr. Mac, 5 and 8. Those are going to be my inside and outside, plus 5a minus 8a minus 40. Factor out an a, you get a plus 5. Factor out a -8, a plus 5. A plus 5, a minus 8 is our answer. Oh, we still got another 4 more before we get there. Oh, here we go. Stay tuned. Come on, dig deep, baby. Let's go. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C, 1 times -20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Signs are different. Bigger is negative, gives me my -8. Y squared plus 2y minus 10y minus 20. Factor out a y. Factor out a -10. Y plus 2, y minus 10. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C, 1 and 56, 2 and 28, 3, no, 4, yes, 4 and 14, 5, no, 7, yes, 7 and 8. And there it is. Bigger, smaller, -1. Z squared plus 7z minus 8z minus 56. Z plus 7 minus 8. Z plus 7. Z plus 7, z minus 8 is my solution. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C, 1 and 72, 2 and 36, 3 and, yes, 3 and 24, 4 and 18, 5 no, 6 yes, 6 and 12, 7 no, 8 yes, 8 and 9. Signs are different. Bigger is negative, 14. That's going to be those two. So no need to go through all of them. If we can find the factor pair that works, which is 4 and -18, let's jump to it. Let's just cut to the chase. Y plus 4 minus 18, y plus 4, y plus 4, y minus 18. So when taking this placement test, whether depending on whatever school you're going to, Notre Dame Academy, Marymount, Loyola, Bishop Montgomery, Mater Dei, it's going to be really important for you to roll through these, to recognize them, to know all the different nuances, to know how to tackle when they're not in standard form, when there is a common factor, when it is a special case, when it's A times C, when it's not A times C. So we have to be proficient. We can't be sitting here and wondering whether we're doing it correctly or not. You can be able to go through this like I'm doing, even while we're talking. And we know what's going to go on even as we explain it. 16, oh, there is going to be no 16. So this is going to be, right? Yep. So this is prime. Did you know that? Do you know what happens when none of your middles equal your factor pairs? So do you know how to tackle that? So they left that for the last one. All right. So here, 19, now we're going to do, we have variables. We should recognize what is going on here. We still are in standard form. There still isn't a common factor. It's still not a special case. And we still do A times C, where A is 1 and C is negative 20. We just have a variable that we're going to introduce into it. Signs are different. Bigger is negative. This still gives us our negative 1 middle. So A squared still comes down. Negative 20 B squared still comes down. And this time, my factor pairs are going to have a variable of AB. So it's going to be positive 4AB, negative 5AB. And when we factor by grouping, we have to recognize that the common factor is going to be A, which leaves us with A plus 4B. And with this set, not only do we have a coefficient, but we have a variable. So it's negative 5. And they also have a B in common. So if we factor that out, that's left with A plus 4B. And notice they're still the same in the parentheses. That's how I know that I did it correct or correctly. And there is our answer. We can always check if we need to. So it's in standard form. There's no common factor amongst the three terms. It is not a special case because 12 is not a perfect square. So we will utilize A times C. Negative 12. Factors of negative 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Signs are different. Bigger is negative. And we get negative 1 here, which is our coefficient for our middle. Y squared plus 3yz minus 4yz minus 12z squared. Notice that the sum of these two brings us back to that trinomial. Now we're going to factor by grouping. We're going to factor out a y. We get y plus 3z. We're going to factor in a negative 4z, which gives us, Momo, I'm going to have to call you back in a second. Can I call you later? That is my daughter calling from college, hopefully. Making a video for math. Okey-doke, nothing urgent, so that's good. Plus 3z, sorry for that interruption. Life jumps in at you at all times of the day. On this Friday, April 5th, the last Friday of our spring break. Yep, Mr. Mac is here making videos at 12:47 in the afternoon on a Friday. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C. 1 times negative 18, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Signs are different. Bigger is negative, positive, 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 negative 3. So we're going to use u squared plus 3uv minus 6uv minus 18v squared. Factor out the u plus uv. Factor out a negative 6v. You get u plus 3v. Oh, that's a weird looking binomials. But it works. 1, standard form, yes. Common factor, no. Special case, no. A times c, 1 times negative 24. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Signs are different. Bigger is positive. Negative 5 is this one. A squared plus 3ab minus 8ab minus 24b squared. Factor out an a plus 3b. Factor in negative 8b, a plus 3b. A plus 3b times a minus 8b. We still got a lot to go. Okay, here we go. Come on, stay focused. Standard form, yes. Whoop. Common factor, no. Special case, no. A times c, 1 times negative 30. Negative 30. Factors of 30 are 1 and 30. 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 4, no, 5 and 6. Signs are different. Bigger is negative, positive, 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 positive. Here's my negative 7, x squared plus 3xy minus 10xy minus 30y squared. Factor out an x plus 3y. Factor out a negative 10y, you get x plus 3y, x plus 3y, x minus 10y. Look, your work should look identical to mine. There's no reason that it should differ. Standard form, yes. H comes before K. Common factor, no. Special case, no. 24 is not a perfect square. A times c, 1 times negative 24. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. That's going to be negative positive, gives me my negative 2. H squared plus 4hk minus 6hk minus 24k squared. Factor out an h, you get h plus 4k. Factor out a negative 6k. Gives you h plus 4k. H plus 4k, h minus 6k would produce that trinomial. Oh, that's a nice one. That's different. Standard form, yes. Common factor, no. Special case, no. A times c, 1 times negative 50. I don't think we've done negative 50. 1 and 50, 2 and 25, 3 no, 4 no, 5 and 10. Signs are different. Bigger is positive. That gives me my 5. X squared minus 5xy plus 10xy minus 50y squared. Factor out an x minus 5y. Factor out a 10y. You get x minus 5y. X minus 5y. X plus 10y. Notice the signs of the binomial are different. Standard form. That's still a lot. This may be an hour long again. Standard form. Common factor. Special case, no. A times c, 1 times negative 35. negative 35, 1 and 35, 3 no, 4 no, 5 and 7, negative, positive, negative 2. C squared plus 5CD minus 7CD minus 35D squared. Factor out a C, C plus 5D. Factor out a negative 7D. You get C plus 5D. And don't just guess at it, look at it, make sure you're factoring out the proper common factor when we factor by grouping. Standard form, common factor, special case, A times C. 1 times negative 42, negative 42. 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14. 4 no, 5, 6 and 7. Signs are different, both negative. Oh, bigger is negative. That's our negative 11. X squared plus 3xy minus 14xy minus 42y squared. Factor out an x plus 3y. Factor out a negative 14y. X plus 3y. X plus 3y times the quantity x minus 14y. All right, this time they give it to you not in standard form, so standard form, this will be fun. So no on standard form, so let's rewrite in standard form. And something interesting is going to happen here. We have, so when we see a common factor, we can't have a negative as first term. So we have to factor out a negative. I have to take out a negative from this. So that becomes 24c minus 2c minus 1. So now I am just factoring this trinomial. Very interesting, different thing. Is it a special case? No, because 24 is not a perfect square, so we do a times c. Now a this time is 24, c is negative 1. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Signs are different. Bigger is negative. And this gives me my negative 2. So that negative's out here. This green part becomes 24c squared. I'm going to split my middle to positive 4c and negative 6c, which simplifies to negative 2c. And then I bring down my negative 1. So I haven't changed anything. I just have this negative hanging out there. Now I'm going to factor by grouping just like I did before. So I have my negative. Now factoring 24c plus 4c, they both have a 4c. So that's going to be 6c plus 1. Ooh, that's a fun one. From the second grouping, I'm going to factor out a negative 1. Another tricky one. 6c plus 1. And see, I did it correctly because these are still the same. So I have the negative out there. I'm going to pull that 6c plus 1. And then I'm left with 4c minus 1. So this is my trinomial factored. So that negative out there represents a negative 1. We wouldn't write a negative 1. We'd just write the negative. We just want to keep that. So standard form. No, it's not in standard form. Negative 36c squared plus 9c plus 1. Is there a common factor? Yes. You have to factor a negative. So we have to factor out a negative because our first term can't be negative. 36c, when we factor out, that changes all the signs in there. And now we're going to do, oh, this is good. Hey, special case. Is it a binomial square? 3 terms. Yes, it does. First and third, perfect squares. Yes, 36 and 1 are perfect squares. Third term, positive. No, third term is not a positive. I think this is Friday. I think they're doing, I don't know if you could hear that. That is the, that's a sidewalk sweeper, and it's Friday. So I hope that street cleaning isn't on the right side on 18th Street or 17th Street, whatever street I'm on. Third term, so it's not a binomial square. So we got to go A times C. So A is 36, C is -1, -36, which is 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Signs are different. Bigger is negative. So this right side is negative, this left side are all positives. And which one gives us -9? That does. So it's -36c squared plus 3c minus 12c minus 1. Now I'm going to factor by grouping. Factor these, and I'm going to factor out a 3c, which gives me 12c plus 1. I'm going to factor out a negative, which gives me 12c plus 1, because they don't have anything but the negative in common. They have no coefficient, they have no variable. That's why I just factor out the negative. And then I get the opposite of 12c plus 1 times the quantity 3c minus 1. That was a little tricky. I didn't show that. We factored out a -1. I should write that -1 there. So, standard form, nope. Let's rewrite it in standard form. -24x squared plus 5x plus 1. Common factor, yes. I have to factor out a -1. Let's factor out that -1, 24x squared minus 5x minus 1. Special case, no. A times C, 1. No, I keep doing 1. 1 and 24 and -1, which makes 24. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Bigger's negative, -5. 24x squared plus 3x minus 8x minus 1. Let's factor out a 3x, which gives us 8x plus 1. Let's factor out a -1, which gives us 8x plus 1. And we get 8x plus 1, 3x minus 1. Nice. Standard form, nope. Rewrite it in standard form, -36x squared plus 5x plus 1. That feels like the same problem. 36, sorry. Number 2, common factor. Yes, there is a common factor of -1. Got to factor out that -1. 36x squared minus 5x minus 1. Special case. That's where the special case. Binomial square. Nope. Third term is negative. So A times C, we can jump because I remembered. 36 times -1 is -36. 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Signs are different. Bigger is -5. Really does feel like we've already done this one. X squared plus 4x minus 9x minus 1. Let's factor by grouping. We'll factor out a 4x. We get 9x plus 1. Factor out a -1. We get 9x plus 1. the opposite of 9x plus 1 times the quantity 4x minus 1. Yep, we're getting there. We're getting close. Standard form, nope, right in standard form. Negative 72y squared minus 14y plus 1. Common factor, yes, there is a common factor of negative 1 because my first term is negative. Got to factor that out. Negative 72y plus 14y minus 1. That's different. Special case, no. A times c, 72 times negative 1 is negative 72. 1 and 72. 2 and 36. 3 and 24. 4 and 18. 5, no. 6 and 12. 7, 8 and 9. Signs are different. Bigger is positive. That gives me my 14. 72y squared minus 4y plus 18y minus 1. Ooh, that's different. Let's see what goes on here. So let's factor out a 4y. We get 18y minus 1. And we're going to factor out a 1, positive 1. That's the first time we've done that. They don't have anything in common. They don't even have a negative. So we'll factor out a 1. And that gives us 18y minus 1, 4y plus 1. That's a good one. Saving those for the last ones. Oh, wow, it felt like I only had 2 left. Okay, come on. Standard form. This is definitely going to be an hour long. Negative 45x squared minus 12x plus 1. Factor out the negative. 45x squared plus 12x minus 1. Factors of common factor, special case, a times c, 45 and negative 1. 1 and 45, 2, 3 and 15. 4, 5, and 9. Bigger's positive. Here's my 12. Negative 45 x squared minus 3x plus 15x minus 1. Factor out a 3x. We get 15x minus 1. Factor out a positive 1. You get 15x minus 1. That's the tricky part of that one. 15x minus 1, 3x plus 1. Okay. Negative 21x squared minus 4x plus 1. Factor out the negative 21x squared plus 4x minus 1. Standard form, common factor, special case, a times c, 21 times negative 1, negative 21, 1 and 21, 3 and 7, bigger's positive, 21x squared minus 3x plus 7x minus 1. Factor out 3x. My first term is positive. I didn't factor out a negative. So my first term is positive. That gives me 7x minus 1. I'm going to factor out a positive 1. And we get 7x minus 1, 3x plus 1. You can roll these out this fast. That's good. Standard form, common factor, special case, a times c, negative 30x squared minus 7x plus 1. Factor out the negative. 30x squared plus 7x minus 1. We're just going to change all the signs. We get 30 and negative 1 is negative 30. 1 and 30. 2 and 15. 3 and 10. 5 and 6. Plus minus is 7. 30 x squared minus 3x plus 10x minus 1. Let's factor out a 3x. That gives us 10x minus 1. Factor out a 1. That gives us 10x minus 1. The opposite of 10x minus 1, 3x plus 1. Last one. Here we go. Here we go. Standard form, common factor, special case, a times c, negative 44x squared plus 7x plus 1. Factor out that negative 44x squared minus 7x minus 1. 44 times negative 1 is negative 44. 1 and 44, 2 and 22, 4 and 11, that's it. Negative is the bigger. That gives us negative 7. 44x squared plus 4x minus 11x minus 1. Down the stretch they come. Factor out a 4x, that's 11x plus 1. Factor out a negative 1. That's 11x plus 1. The opposite of 11x plus 1, 4x minus 1. If you made it this far and you're still working, good on you. Give yourself a pat on the back because that was a lot of work. And nice job for making it this far and staying true and powering through and understanding that doing the hard stuff is what's going to make a difference in your work. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. Good luck.